My name is Ethan Walker, and I am 31 years old. And if I'm honest, I should have known how this would end. My younger sister had always been good at taking, and even better at pretending it was normal. But when she got engaged, I convinced myself things would change, because family is supposed to matter, right? The moment the ring appeared, the requests started. Calls, texts, voice notes, all urgent, all emotional, all somehow my responsibility. She needed help with a venue deposit, then rent because wedding stress made work impossible, then a better car so she would not look small next to her future in-laws. And every time I said yes, because that was my role, the steady one, the fixer, the quiet brother who paid without asking questions. Over 8 months, I handed over $21,500, rent payments, car costs, emergency vendor bills she promised would be repaid once gifts arrived. I told myself I was investing in peace. I did not notice the shift until I stopped being included. No invite to the engagement party, no message when she went suit shopping. I found out through social media, like a stranger watching highlights of a life I was funding. 2 weeks before the wedding, she finally called. No greeting, no thanks, just a casual line about cutting the guest list and how I did not need to come. I laughed at first because it sounded ridiculous. Then she repeated it slower, like I was slow. And when I asked why, she sighed and called me cheap, selfish, and weak, said she did not want that energy near her big day. Cheap after everything I paid, selfish after covering her life, weak because I hesitated once. I did not yell, I did not argue, I hung up, and for the first time I replayed every moment I stayed quiet to keep things calm, every joke at my expense, every expectation that I would fold. That night, I opened my laptop and planned. Not revenge, not drama, just consequences. First, I canceled the rent payment due the next morning, the boring real-life rent she never worried about because I handled it. Then I removed her car from my insurance, the car still in my name, bought to protect her image. I flagged it for repossession, clean and legal. Finally, I drafted a simple invoice listing every payment, every transfer, every emergency, and sent it with one line saying since I was too cheap to attend, I would handle the money properly. My phone exploded. Calls, texts, panic. I did not answer. She showed up screaming outside my building, neighbors watching. My parents joined the noise. Guilt, anger, orders to fixing like I was a broken appliance. I spoke calmly and told them no. That scared them more than shouting ever could. They left furious, and I locked the door and drank coffee like it was any normal day. By noon, she took it public, posting a dramatic story calling me cruel, saying I left her homeless and stranded. She did not mention the money, so I posted receipts, all of them, with one caption, "Facts do not need feelings." The tone shifted. Vendors backed out, friends questioned her story. The wedding began to unravel, and my phone went quiet until messages poured in, telling me about loyalty, blood, family. For a moment, guilt crept in. Then I remembered her saying I was not useless as she took the car keys, and I knew this was only the beginning. Because when someone loses control, they always reach for a bigger weapon, don't they? The silence did not last long, and I should have known better, because when control slips, people do not apologize, they escalate. The morning after the posts, my parents returned, this time with strategy, instead of shouting. My father talked about reputation, my mother cried about family unity, and my sister stood behind them shaking like the victim she claimed to be. They wanted me to reverse everything, restore the rent, reinstate the car, delete the invoice, and apologize publicly. I listened without interrupting, and when they finished, I said no once and closed the door again. I thought that would be the end, but pride hates a locked door. By afternoon, my phone filled with messages from cousins, aunts, uncles, people who barely knew me, suddenly experts on loyalty. They spoke about blood and sacrifice and how I was destroying something sacred. Not one asked about the money. Not one asked why I had been uninvited. It was easier to pressure me than question her. That night, my sister slipped an envelope under my door with a single sentence saying I was dead to her. No apology, no accountability, just blame. I felt relief instead of pain, which scared me more than anger ever could. 2 days later, my landlord called. Awkward and careful, she told me my father had contacted her, offering money to end my lease early so I could move back home and fix things. I laughed because it was so predictable. When guilt fails, try control. I told her I was staying, and she told me she found the call inappropriate, and that was when I realized this was not about love, it was about image. The next day, a certified letter arrived from my father, legal language, threatening to sue me for emotional distress if I did not retract the invoice and post an apology. He even included a draft statement admitting I lied. They truly believed pressure would fold me again. What they did not know was that I had prepared, quietly, like I always did. I had saved everything: receipts, transfers, messages thanking me for help, messages calling me a sucker, timestamps, backups, folders, neat and undeniable. I made one call to a college friend who worked at a local news station. I did not rant, I gave facts. A wedding implosion, tens of thousands paid, a sibling cut out, legal threats to silence the truth. She asked for documents, and I sent them. 2 days later, an article went live. Without names, but everyone knew. The story laid out cleanly. The money, the uninviting, the retaliation, the attempted intimidation. The effect was immediate. Messages stopped. The lawsuit threat vanished. My parents went silent. My sister locked her profiles and deleted posts. Exposure ended what arguments could not. Weeks passed in quiet. I built a routine. Work, gym, cheap dinners, no drama. I expected loneliness. Instead, I felt light. Then one evening, Tyler knocked at his evening, holding a six-pack like an apology. He told me the truth. The marriage already cracking, her husband discovering lies about money, his family turning cold, my father's reputation taking hits, deals drying up. Appearances matter where they live, and threatening your own kid looks bad. Tyler said something that stayed with me. You're better off without her. We all are. After he left, the quiet returned, and it felt earned. I believed the chapter was closed, but I was wrong, because peace attracts one last test. It always does. And when the email arrived with the subject, "We need to talk," and the sender was her husband, I knew the storm had not finished choosing its target yet. The email sat unread for 2 days, not because I was afraid, but because I finally understood the power of silence. It rattles people who are used to noise. When I opened it, her husband accused me of owing money, claimed some of it was his too, and warned of court if I did not explain. There it was again, threats before truth. I replied with one sentence saying everything was documented and attached a compressed file. Inside were receipts, transfers, messages where my sister called the money a loan, thanked me, promised repayment, facts stripped of emotion. Less than an hour later, he blocked me. 2 weeks after that, I heard through a friend that his husband filed for divorce. Apparently, the money was only one lie, among many. Once the gifts ran out and sympathy dried up, so did his patience. He moved back with his parents, she moved into our parents' condo, the same one they had to buy after selling the house at a loss. The perfect image collapsed fast. Meanwhile, my life stayed small and steady. Same job, same car, same apartment, but the noise was gone. Months passed. Holidays slipped by without guilt texts or forced smiles, and I realized how much space takers occupy, even when they're not present. Then one evening, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but answered out of instinct. It was Tyler again, asking if I wanted dinner just to catch up. We met at a dim bar on the edge of town. Cheap wings, loud music, and nothing to prove. We didn't talk about the wedding or my parents. We talked about work, old memories, dumb stories. Halfway through, he laughed and said, "You know, you're the lucky one, right? You got out." That sentence landed heavier than anything else, because it was true. I lost money, I lost the illusion of family, but I gained freedom, real freedom, without strings, without invoices hidden in favors. I walked to my car that night feeling lighter than I had in years, and I thought that was the end. But freedom charges interest in another form, because peace makes some people desperate to reclaim control, and when they fail quietly, they try one last loud move. And I did not see it coming until my doorbell rang the next afternoon, and when I opened it, my father stood there, alone, without anger, without shouting, holding a folder like a weapon wrapped in politeness. And that was when I realized the final confrontation would not be emotional, it would be calculated, and far more dangerous, because this time he believed he was right. And when someone believes that, they never think they're doing harm, do they? My father did not raise his voice. He did not insult me. He did not threaten me directly, which somehow made it worse. He stepped inside like he still owned the space and placed the folder on my table like an offering. He said, "This could all end today if I cooperated." Inside were printed screenshots, emails, twisted timelines, and a proposal. He wanted me to sign a statement saying the